Hi, welcome to Ocean Yummy's channel. So today I'm going to talk about a church, a mega church in fact, called First Love. Now, I didn't know about these churches. I know about Hillsong Church, which is a mega church in America, which had Justin Bieber in it and different people in it. And I came across First Love through a lady on TikTok. The lady was discussing or exposing what's going on in the church. Now, there is other churches. There is VYG, which is another church, which is a mega church, and they have a whole heap of stuff that's come out about them. So these mega churches are more like cult churches. So today I think I'm gonna do a little bit on First Love, because one young lady has been talking about First Love Church. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to look for some kind of information so we can understand about First Love Church. Let me see if it's gonna tell me. Seems like it comes under many names. Okay. First Love Society purpose is to unite and mobilize spiritual field Christians on campus who are filled with a first love for the Lord and passion for God, and the Holy Spirit is derived from the words of Jesus in Revelations. So that's what their ethos is. Their founder, I think I just found him a minute ago. It is. I can go to the reception. Let me see. So there's a lady that's been covering First Love Church on TikTok.
Oh, hey guys. Hey guys. I'm trying to get my Hey guys, nice to see you. They got my my live access removed. I quite like Insta though. I can't lie. Like, you know, when TikTok is given like the hood of the apps, but then on Instagram I feel fabulous. I don't know. Girl, they got my live restricted on TikTok, but to be honest, I quite like Insta. I'm happy to sit on here by myself all day, to be honest. Let's see. Oh, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? It's because my oh, this isn't even on. Everything's going wrong. Can you hear me now? Let me sit closer. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It's just the scenery is not as nice here. Could you hear me before? Could you hear me before when I was sitting over there? All right, guys, let me go and get my charger. Hey, guys. Hey, girl. Hey, Niecy. How are you? Let me see if you lot can hear me from here, because this is a better view. How are y'all doing? Hey, girl. Thanks for your support. Oh, okay. I've got a few people on here. Can you lot hear me? Can you lot hear me? I've brought it a little bit closer. Guys, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. And you know what? Yeah. Hi, Carl. You know what? Yeah. If I see any trolls on here, because on Insta, because I know people in it. So if any trolls think they're going to come on my Insta when I'm looking this good, they're going to get run down. And I know everyone's business up in there. Hey, Auntie Fifi. So if I do see trolls, if I see their little picture pop up, they're getting it. Anyway, how is everyone? Because I don't really come on Insta Live. I feel like the people on Insta think they're too bougie. Do you get me? You lot are all living your fake lives, putting up your fake stuff. But I'm a very real person. So that's why I like TikTok. But let's see. Let me come on here and see. Let's see if Insta can handle the realness. How is everyone doing today? How are y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Oh, that's my mic. Let's get into it. Let's get into it, y'all. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's hope that it's charged. So if you don't know me, my name's Leah Lauder. I'm a mega church cult survivor. I used to be in this mega church under Dad Hewitt Mills. Comes under First Love. There are a bunch of rapists in there. And they like covering up a lot of things. They abuse women. They psychologically, mentally abuse people. And they like teething up your money. They like taking you for every penny you got. You know them ones. This song's dedicated to all the pastors in the cult, especially Bishop Richard Iye and Dad Hewitt Mills. Y'all got big egos there. You got a big ego. I said you got a big ego. Bishop Richard, you got a big ego. Dad, you got a big ego. Need to bring the ego down. Too much pride in First Love. But here you are liking to judge people because of what they're wearing. Innit? You lot are a bag of bullies in there. First Love pastors love to bully people with disabilities and learning difficulties, I've been hearing. People love bullying people with disabilities and learning difficulties. If anyone here knows LP Taliswa from First Love, tell her to hit me up. Tell her to hit me up. Tell her to call me. I want to talk about her. I want to talk about the way she bullies people with disabilities and learning difficulties. I want to have a chat. You know them ones. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about why a grown woman with a floppy ass husband who's flopping all over the place, watching Love Island as a grown man, having conversations and group discussions with young females in the church about Love Island, that's supposed to be a pastor, flapping around everywhere. That one, he's married to him, Caleb, and his name ain't even Caleb, his name's something else, because he's been so indoctrinated. My man's from the Caribbean, and he's talking like a Ghanaian, because they're indoctrinated. You, Taliswa, she wanted to be bullying up people with learning difficulties and disabilities. So I would like her to call my phone and talk to me like that. You know them ones, because when you were in the church, you couldn't chat to me, girl. She's probably one of the first people that's been in the church running her dirty mouth. Oh, and she was right. I was right about her. Thanks, Auntie Fifi. I was right about her. She was this and she was that. No, bitch. I was right about you. How about that? I was right about you and your stink-ass husband. How about that? You know them ones. They think they can silence me. What? Because you don't got my live restricted access on TikTok. You don't think I'm going to be silent. I've got another account on there. I've got about five survivors I can go on live right now that have over 1,000. Do you get what I'm saying? I've got people begging me to help me with my social media. What? I got moles in First Love, Mustard Seed Chapel, Loyalty House, Kadesh Family. You know them ones. What are you talking about? The support I have from this evil, you see this evil worldwide organization, yeah? Y'all, they've got churches all over the world. Let me tell you something. I've got moles all over. I've got moles all over. It's all right, babe. You don't need to have over 1,000. If you've got hands, you've got a mouth, and you've got some eyes, there will be something for you to help out with, girl. My queen or my king. You know them ones there. Okay. Inside. Who's got any requests? Don't get me started. I'm sick and tired of these mega church cults. And there's bare of them on Instagram. I just don't like the vibe of Insta, man. There's loads of these mega church cults on here. And all of these fake female Christians. Oh yeah, Simply Darlinchers on here, innit? That stupid dumb hoe. You know this girl came to create a fake account. And then she came to be commenting. Guys, over 30 comments, including folded comments. My girl went to go and create a fake account, Simply Darling. And you ain't no darling. You don't look like a darling physically. You're not a darling in your heart or your soul. You're a fake Christian with a wicked heart. You're a wicked woman. Wicked. You see them women in that church, that First Love, Mustard Seed, Christ Cathedral, especially the female bishops. The female bishops, oh my God. If anyone wants to learn how to be wicked, do you know what I find ironic? How Mr. Dag Heward Mills is preaching about monsters. I mean, bruv, he's talking about his own church. You know them ones. My man's talking about his own church. And then they want to be standing from the pulpit pointing fingers and telling people about monsters and ego. Listen, I don't think anyone understands it. Me, I'm Zeus level network of petty. I've already told everyone, and I don't get tired. You know I've been building your empire. Do you know what I'm saying, bitch, Bishop Richard? I've been building stuff for you. Then you want to stand from the pulpit and chat complete human fecal matter. Babes, let me tell you something. When I walked into that church, yes, my boyfriend had just been unalived in police custody, but I haven't been dragged up from the streets. I'm not from the village like Richard Aye. I'm not like Richard Aye, where members were having to give, and they were trying to get him jobs and he couldn't hold down a finance job. That's not who I am. That's who Richard Aye is. You couldn't hold down a job, babes. But what you can hold down is bullying people. All that man is a bully. All them pastors are in First Love, Mustard Seed, whatever. They're all a bag of bullies. They love to bully people, especially people with disabilities and learning difficulties, I'm coming to find. They're a pack of cowards. Do you know what I mean? They talk about, oh, they're Christians, they say this, they say, but they're no Christians. They don't even know who Jesus is. They've got no friggin' idea. All they know how to do is stand from the pulpit, be a damn hypocrite, lie on people's names, chat complete human fecal matter, and then come and be talking rubbish. And then one thing they love to talk about is marriage, and people getting married to avoid fornication, getting little kids to get married and then shipping them off to mission and leaving them there with no funds. That's what Bishop Dag Heward-Mills is on. I'm finding out that pastors are out there and they're just sleeping with women, vulnerable women in third world countries, to the point where members are telling me, survivors are telling me that one survivor was saying that she's got like a bait Ghanaian name, very common, like Ajaman, let's say, for example, yeah? So now, this woman's been on Facebook, yeah, messaging random people with the name Ajaman. So now it's ended up in this survivor's Facebook, like her, her messenger. The woman is sending pictures of this man and begging people to get in contact with him because he's impregnated her as a missionary in one of these countries. Can you imagine? This is the kind of stuff going on under Dag Heward-Mills Ministries, First Love, Mustard Seed Chapel International, Christ Cathedral, Pleasant Surprises, Lighthouse Chapel International, yeah? And then Dag Heward-Mills will be standing from the pulpit, yeah, on YouTube every single MF day that God sends. You know them ones. My man standing from the begging for money, asking us for 10K, 10K for this, 20K for this, 5K. When are you going to give people a break, babe? When is the mega church going to do something for the community? When is the mega church going to say, do you know what? Let's set up a fund. Let's help single. I don't even need the mic. You know them ones. Let's set up a fund. Let's set up a fund for vulnerable single mothers. Let's set up a fund to help people. All it's about is a pyramid scheme. All the money goes to the top. And they love breaking apart families. They love separating people from their families. They love to do it. It makes me sick. There's people who go in as whole families just wanting to serve the Lord, love the Lord. The dad becomes a pastor. Then the son starts getting into the ministry. The sisters in the and then, oh my gosh, they just tear it apart. They just tear it apart. Oh, hey guys, I'm starting to see people because I'm just going off, innit? Hey Sharon, hey guys. Oh Sharon, I need to message you back, babe. I don't even know you know what? I don't know where it begins and I don't know where it ends with this cult. Can everyone hear me? Because my phone's charging. I don't know where it begins and I'm not sure where it ends. Like, let's talk about Bishop Richard Aye of First Love, yeah? Let me tell you how wicked. Oh my gosh, guys, you know when you talk about, guys, I've had life experiences, yeah, of like being around people that were in gangs and just having that experience. Do you know what I mean? Like that road life. I've got lived experience of that. And then I've managed to turn my life around. And that's when I started becoming a youth worker, doing youth work. And then I was able to engage some of the most hardest to reach young people. And that's how I started to progress really quickly in my career. Because you know all the gang members that everyone's scared to, they'll be all sitting around me, talking to me, and they were doing what I was saying. And I started to develop projects, and the same with the girls. Very difficult to reach young people, yeah? Why was I saying all of this, y'all? I was getting to a point, innit? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, Bishop Richard, the evilness. So, guys.
This young lady is exposing a mega church. She's been exposing it for a while. She's done demonstrations in front of the church. There's her and another lady that I've also covered. The lady who's on the dark side of Ocean Yemi. They're doing, they're exposing the mega churches and telling what's been going on with the young people and different things. And I did actually check into it. There's a lot of exposés on this particular person. I did drop a couple videos over on the dark side of Ocean Yemi about this church. So basically she's just exposing what's going on, right? And where she fit on the scale of things with the church particularly. Now we do know there is cult churches out there. Like I said, there's VYG over here, is run by the Brazilians. Hi Ebony. Is run by Brazilians. Hi Alexandra. They're run by Brazilians, and other dominant denominations. But sometimes what they tend to do, they tend to feed off young people. They do give the young people objectives, but then there's other stuff going on. That's why when Victoria Kumbier came up, because her auntie was part of a mega church, which they performed the deliverance on her. And the auntie believed so deeply in it that they used to chain her up and treat her real badly. So this young lady's come out and she's been talking about about them, Leah Landry. She's been doing demonstrations with another lady who's also been trying to shut down the mega churches because they are making coins off of the people. Another church that comes to mind is also Hillsong. So if you remember Hillsong, the mega church, this is kind of like that. How normally, right, there's underlying things going on, right, where the pastors are with the women, and then they're preaching to the people, and then I mean, like it's like any other church with the first lady, the first, I mean, so stuff be going on. So she's come out and she's talking about it. I was actually going to do an introduction to the First Love mega church before I move it to the dark side of Ocean, because I think there is loads of stuff that I might find out about them that most people might be more associated with that channel, because that channel deals with abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, which happens in the churches, even though I cover a bit of crime. So this is why I put in her on, because this is the English equivalent of the Hillsong Church. So she's saying that how it's run by Ghanaians and all that. So what she's doing, she's just talking, she's exposing it out. She was on her channel live the other day. I did share her page. She was talking about it because she goes in pretty deep. Now, she used to be a star herself. She used to be on one of those the star thing. I can't remember the group she was in, but she's been talking out for the longest time. And I haven't seen nobody spoke about her. I've been looking, seeing where maybe somebody's going to talk about her, because there's her and another lady, and I forgot the other lady's name. She does Surviving VYG. So I thought that how I'm gonna put her on the live to, show her today, because when I'm talking about it, people will know who I'm talking about and who First Love Church is. Now I'm gonna put up a few stuff. I'm gonna put up about the pastor, because she talks about the pastor a lot. So I'm gonna put up the pastor, who he is, what the church is. Because remember, the other day I did cover about the Spiritual Baptist Church, where there was a fight with the elder and I think he was a pastor, the shepherd. So, but it's just that in the Spiritual Baptist churches, they don't really expose people like that. But in this case, this lady is really doing it. So she might talk a little fast, but she just saying what's going on. But I will take her off at one point and then go to another person, because there seems to be quite a lot of people exposing them.
So, guys, I've been around. Listen, I've been around some. When you want to talk about people who are really about that lifestyle, I've been around people like that. And you know what? You see the things with gangs, yeah. When you look at it from a public health approach, from a public health lens, you see that a lot of these young men are born into ghettos, are born into deprived neighborhoods, and then they're judged and pathologized on so many different layers, because they're black, because of their social class, because of the way they dress, because of the way they speak, because of the way they act, because of the way they breathe. You know what I mean? and they're segregated from society, and the government put them in poor houses, in poor housing, and then it makes it inequitable. It's not a fair society. Do you understand what I'm saying? People are not mixing with other social classes, etc. So these when you're put into those situations, it's survival of the fittest. People are doing things to survive. They're not doing things because they're greedy. They're not doing things because they're egotistical. They're not doing things because their name's Dagwood Mills. They're doing it because their mum can't afford to put a meal on the table, because their mum might have been addicted to alcohol and drug misuse. So they're not getting fed that night. If they don't go out and do something to get some money, to put some food on the table to feed themselves and their little 2-year-old daughter, everyone's starving in the house. And the social services are overwhelmed. So they don't always, some of these people slip through the net, and these men just become fathers of households. Anyway, don't get me started. There's many layers and fractures and dimensions to this. There's a lot of these, what you call so-called gangbangers, and their carers for their disabled parents. I'm not condoning the behavior, but what I'm saying is there's trauma. And when we look through it through a lens of trauma, we're able to diagnose and treat whatever it is that's going on at the root of it. So we look at it, I don't like to use the term disease, but a bit like, you know how people would look at viruses and whatever, and you use a public health approach to manage that. We do that in the same way with gangs. That's what I'm a specialist in when it comes to gangs and youth and criminal justice, yeah? So I'm using this to say, I have worked with some, I've worked in prison, secure estates. I've worked with people in Belmarsh and ISIS and Rochester and Medway. These are the places I have worked. I have met the people who are supposed to be the most wicked and have to be locked away in society. And when I tell you, I have never in my life met anyone more wicked and evil than Dagwood Mills and Bishop Richard I.E. Deep that for a minute, guys. I was working with people in prisons that were there for M charges because they had unalived people, guys. Guys, are you deep in this? Are you lot hearing me? And I have never met anyone more wicked than Bishop Richard I.E. and Bishop Dagwood Mills. They are wicked men. And this is why I'm literally dedicated my life to exposing these people. I have to really watch my language. Okay. Who's that? Oh, okay. Have you got my number, babe? Is this a different name? I don't, because this is we're on Insta now, so I don't even know this name. Come on, you lot. Am I speaking any lies? Am I speaking any lies? And I'm not even going to be on here long, but what I am going to start doing is jumping on Insta a little bit more. You know them ones, because the TikTok algorithm does get a lot of people in. But I think if I just keep coming on Insta, I think it will pick up, because I don't really engage with this. Okay, yeah, call me, babe. What time is it now? Oh, okay, you can call me when I'm going to come off here in about 15. Maybe 1:30. God, I got so much to do. Call me at 1:30. We'll go at 1:30, yeah, babe. If you can, are you free at that time? Oh my gosh, y'all, it has just been a crazy week. Let's recap. I like Insta. Insta makes me feel fabulous. Thank you, Sharon, baby. Even that girl there, she's a whole boss. She's got this like big podcast or whatever. I'm going to be going on her thing. She's like a whole little famous podcaster on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Sharon, big her up, my queen in the car. These are the kind of things I got upcoming, but there's been so much going on. You know, Bishop Richard's been he's been slagging me off behind the pulpit, just abusing me. Natalie, oh my God, babe. Oh my gosh. Oh, queen. Girl, have you got my number? Girl, message me after. Ooh, there's some people. Okay. Yeah, I forgot because Insta's old school, innit? It's a bit delayed. What? Let's do a little recap. I never heard of Dag till you mentioned him. Sis, no one knows who the hell this guy is. He's a girl. You know what? Yeah, let me go and charge my mic. You know them ones, because the thing is, because I can't curse and swear, this is why I use the mic. because I feel like I'm doing more. Do you get what I'm saying when I've got the mic? So these people are absolutely disgusting, y'all. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The lead is so small, I've got to twist up and bend up myself like I'm a child. No one knows Dag Babes. Do you know what I mean? He coerces and forces people to know him and listen to his books and buy his merchandise and, pay to go on his camps. He busses people. He gets people from the villages in Ghana, or he gets the kids in uni in Ghana, and he brainwashes and indoctrinates them. He does that all over the world, girl, but especially in Ghana. Especially in Ghana. Yeah, Priscilla, we need to finish yours as well. When I come off the live, I'm going to take a bit of time out for myself. Because, self-love, self-care and whatnot. I need to make sure that, that's happening. And then I'm going to call everyone because I love speaking. Do you know what? Yeah, guys, my life was guys, I was living a sad life. I didn't have any friends, honestly. And I didn't have any friends really in the cult because, it's fake friendships. But I came out and I was so sad. I know you guys can relate to this. I was so sad, honestly. I really was. And I didn't have any friends. And now, I wake up and I think, I can call Priscilla or, Abby or anyone on the group. We've got a WhatsApp support group. I'm meeting a survivor today. We're going out for some lovely food and drinks. This has completely transformed my life. Just being able to connect with people. I'm going to get emotional. Oh, guys, because I'm new on Insta with the lives. Everyone on TikTok's used to me now. They know I'm like a crybaby. But I'm also dangerous. But yeah, so it's just been so emotional. Everyone's just showing so much love and support. And
Okay, I think I'm gonna go to one of her survivors as she terms it. I think I've seen one of them. Okay, let's get the next young lady up from that church. So,
as someone who was actually in a cult for a little while, once I left that cult and I started going to other churches, I was able to tell exactly what churches operate like a cult. And I'm sorry to say it, you guys are going to hate me for it and bash me and say I'm not Christian and whatever. But First Love operates like a cult because, again, you guys do things like cutting anybody off that doesn't agree with your church, cutting anybody off that goes against or doesn't believe in everything that's being taught in the church. People literally worship the pastors in the church. And also, the whole beloved thing became extremely boring. I was sitting through every single service and it was about beloved, 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 long. Like, I get it, young people you want to marry and whatever, but it comes boring after a while having to hear beloved 10 times in one service. Also, the books that you're forced to read, nah. But what I will say is a lot of people that go there seem really happy and I'm happy for them. Also, the level of harassment that goes on in that church, like I said, I'm not coming to service. Please stop ringing my line. Please stop texting me over and over and over and over and over again. It's actually harassment.
okay, so also let me see. So I'm gonna do a introduction to First Love. There's a brief history to them. Right. Let's see.
He said she was asking me questions, what can be done and all that. But I was so excited. It was
unbelievable.
Unbelievable that he's coming here to preach to us.
Yes, because usually when he came to campus, it was like maybe a crusade
or a camp.
A camp. Yes.
Usually the camp, a loose camp.
I remember you putting the message up, Chief was our chief elder. You put up the message. You put up the message that we should go for outreach, that prophet was coming the following day.
Before that,
yes.
We actually met at the prayer.
Yes, you called for an emergency meeting.
I remember just saying, oh, wow.
I remember being at the audition.
Yeah, it was at Como.
It was at Como.
The audition was at Como.
Yeah.
I remember those red seats.
Yeah, red seats. Yeah, and I remember I sang The Blood.
You didn't audition. If you sang The Blood, you didn't audition. The audition song was My Redeemer Lives, and everybody sang that song.
So I don't remember why I sang The Blood, but something must have happened. So I sang The Blood.
Yeah.
And I think it worked because after that, everybody was like, oh, that guy's a star.
Wow.
And I think Atu was supposed to introduce me. And then he was like, oh, let's invite Ima or something. And then later Daddy was like, Ima is too common. Don't you have a...
So this is what she was talking about, where they're introducing the people to each other to get married, right? So it's like a Ghanaian church, right? So they're kind of showing what it is about, but not really showing. So I'm just like, okay. They're not really showing nothing, but there's a lot of people talking about it. There's a lot. Let me see. Well, there is controversy around the church. Okay. So, as that's not giving, so let me see. Now, the lady that I was talking about who was speaking out about the church, because this one, I don't know, they're just advertising, promoting something, I don't know, and I ain't in it, to be honest with you, I ain't in it. Okay, so the lady that was exposing stuff for VYG is this young lady here, for the Universal Church Kingdom of God. Oops. And there was a lot of controversial around, a lot of stuff that came forward. So Leah and her has met up and they have, like I said, done demonstrations. So this is like, I think that's like a promotional video. That's what I see. That's what it seems like. Because not a lot of people's talking about it, about the church, what's going on with it. Because I think they most probably shut up a lot of people. And there's a lot of experiences, like not disagreeing, but Leah seems to be the only one who's talking out about the church and this lady. So I don't know whether you understand what she was talking about, but that's the size of it right now, because I think she's trying to get them to close it down, and so she's trying to show that how is how he's really, what you call it, going on people's vulnerabilities and different things. because it says that they're full of youth. Even when you're reading the headline of it, it talks about the youths. So the guy that runs it, I'm gonna play the guy that runs that other church. Let me take her out the way.
Dag Heward-Mills. The topic of this article may not meet Wikipedia's notability guideline for biographies. Dag Heward-Mills, born May 14, 1963, is a Ghanaian religious leader based in Accra, Ghana. He is the founder and presiding bishop of the United Denominations originating from the Lighthouse Group of Churches, formerly known as Lighthouse Chapel International, and the United Organization of First Love Churches, UOFLC. He is also the founder of the Anagazo Bible and Ministry Training Center in the eastern region of Ghana. A retired medical practitioner by profession, Dag has served on the board of directors of Church Growth International and the executive committee of the Pentecostal World Fellowship. Early life and education edit. Dag Heward-Mills was born on May 14, 1963, in London to his parents, Elizabeth and Nathaniel Heward-Mills, with his mother being of Swiss origin. They moved to Ghana where he attended Achimota School. Dag Heward-Mills attended University of Ghana Medical School and graduated in 1989. Career edit. His church started as a fellowship of 5 people in 1985 in a canteen. In 1988, Heward-Mills started Lighthouse Chapel International. By 1991, the church had bought a local theater in Coral Ghana. Heward-Mills founded the Healing Jesus campaign with the aim of reaching 100 million souls for Christ, making it one of the largest evangelistic crusades in the world. Heward-Mills' crusades have drawn comparisons to those of Reinhard Bonk. He founded the Anagazo Bible and Ministry Training Center, UBMC, to train men and women in the practical work of the ministry. The Bible School campus is located in the Akwapem Mountains, and is one of the largest privately owned campuses in the country. In 2011, Heward-Mills became pastor of First Love Church, which was later renamed by Heward-Mills in 2020 to the United Organization of First Love Churches in 190 nations, UOFLC 190. The Lighthouse Group of Churches edit. List of churches in the denomination. 1 Anagazo Assemblies, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Ivory Coast. 2 Catch the Anointing Center, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. 3 Greater Love Church Ghana, Ghana and Equatorial Guinea. 4 Healing Jesus Mission International, Ghana, DR Congo, Gabon, and CAR. 5 Jesus is the Answer Church, Ghana and Mali. 6 Lighthouse Chapel International, Ghana, Congo, Gabon, Kenya, Uganda, UAE, Qatar, South Africa, Eswatini, Namibia, Lesotho, Ethiopia, and CAR.
Yeah, Ethiopia.
7 Loyalty House International, Ghana, Congo, Gabon, and CAR. 8 The Makena Church International, Ghana, Zambia, and Tanzania. 9 The Macarios Church, Ghana, Senegal, Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau. 10 Mustard Seed Chapel International, UK and Europe.
Put it this way, they're everywhere, okay? They're everywhere, right? He's everywhere. The church is everywhere. So,
anybody who accuses me in private.
Okay, so every time I see something of him, it's like a promotional video. It doesn't seem to be, people are questioning like his ethics. That's what I'm feeling, and because there are things coming up, like I said, the lady spoke about that how people be cussing people out in the church and stuff like that. But every time I look at something, like there is examples of him where he's saying to the people, don't follow certain stars or certain stuff, but he's doing the same thing. So Leah also brought that up as one of her exposes, because like the way how it's done is like it's truly is like a cult. As one of the ladies say, that how if you're not part of the church, they kind of ostracize you. So or most cases they'll be ringing up the phone. Now this has happened in a lot of churches. I'm thinking I'm going to add VYG to this as well. I'm going to add VYG to this one as well, because it's the same kind of caliber. There's only that how there's not a lot on the first love, which is interesting. There should be more on it. But it seems like they're talking on certain platforms about it, but it's not getting outwardly reached to the people, to the masses, you know. So I'm gonna see if I could find the information to bring so we can acquaint ourselves with all the stuff what First Love has done.
Members have tried to justify that their quite frankly overbearing take on evangelism is equivalent to Friends.
See that we'll find something else where it's not got music on it. Got too much music on it. That ain't gonna work. All right. Actually quiet. Hold on, I'm trying to get this one to work. Why are you freezing?
So the devil knows that a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand, right? So what's the best way to attack the kingdom of God? From within the kingdom, so with the body of Christ. So the devil knows that a kingdom divided.
Okay. Sorry, I was a bit like, trying to sort things out. Hi, Toothless. Okay, so the youngsters are talking out. There's a lot of youngsters that is talking out about this church. And this is why it's not seen on YouTube much, because they're not on YouTube. The majority of them is not on YouTube. The majority of them. And they're all youngsters. They're all youngsters. So it's hard to get a look on something. Because I've been looking from yesterday and I couldn't see nothing at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the youngsters. I'm going to let the youngsters talk. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let them talk. Let them sound about this church. So we, the elders or elders, can understand what's been going on, because Leah's one of them. But others are not speaking on, they're not speaking on certain platforms, which is a shame. Maybe when they speak on certain platforms, they get blocked or something. Oh, it's doing that thing again. Oh, bro. Hold on. It keeps freezing when I leave it.
So the devil knows that a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand, right? So what's the best way to attack the kingdom of God? From within the kingdom, so with the body of Christ, us. And I feel like that's exactly what's been happening. But I don't think it's completely a bad thing, because I'm seeing a lot of accusations about a church that I go to, and if honestly like that is the case, I feel like not everybody can be lying. Then certain pastors do need to be in jail. I do think that Christians need to be careful, because
we are like the advertisement of Christ. So whatever we do, whether we're talking about God, whether we're talking about our fellow brethren in Christ, we literally have Christ's reputation at stake. Like we have to be very, very careful about the way we speak. If we want to talk about pastors and people in charge, we need to make a disclaimer that this pastor that I'm talking about does not have the life of Christ inside of them. Let's put some respect on the Holy Spirit.
This church
If
is
the Holy
different.
Spirit
That's
was
why we
listening
haven't
to
heard of it.
pastors, these things will not be happening. Jesus is literally the solution. But when we are painting Jesus as if like he's some problem, how do we expect people to come to Christ? Like I'm genuinely confused. People are saying after so and so years after being in church, their life deteriorated. They came up with mental health issues. Like honestly, like I question, I sincerely question like the leadership that you are under. That means in the 15 years, you either never actually encountered Christ, because one thing about
Talking a lot about
encountering
Christ.
Christ, there's change is going to happen. Or you did have the encounter with Christ and it wasn't properly nurtured.
This is the problem I have with Christianity. Okay, and I've been a Christian. I grew up as a Christian child. Is how much is put down your throat. Is how it's put down your throat. Like so, every time she's talking, right, she's put something, a title up there, but she's not talking. She's kind of highlighting how a godly person should move. That's what I think she's trying to explain, but it's how she's explaining it. So I think it's all in the words of what's on the screen, what's flashing on the screen, and all that palaver. But I can't be reading all that. But I'm gonna show red flags. I won't pause. It won't pause for nothing. What's going on? Okay, let me see if this one's gonna come out. Right, she's talking a little more how the red flags to knowing it's a cult.
Like selected pastors, selected preachers that you can listen to, the same people preaching and teaching, because they're very judgmental, like too judgy. Talking about very judgmental with the way that maybe the social status that you're from, maybe you're from the hood and they're judging you because of the way that you speak. Maybe they treat people differently that come in the church that's a bit more wealthier or present themselves better. That's another red flag. Another one is favorites. If they treat people differently in the church and it's like more favoritism is shown to another person, they're given more opportunities and you're feeling a bit like an outcast. It's the same people are doing the same thing. It's selected people. It's very selective, like it's got that elitist vibe. You need to run, because churches are supposed to be inclusive. They're not supposed to be precious about who holds the mic, who goes onto the stage, who sits where, who sits there. Another red flag is they want to take your money. You go to a church and they're taking more than 2 offerings. That is a big red flag. You need to be running out that door, babe, because all they gonna do is make you pay bills, and more bills. Yeah. So if the church is rinsing you dry to the point where you can't get yourself a new shoe, or you can't go and get a pedi, or you can't go and buy that nice outfit that you saw, babes, you need to leave, because there's no self-love. You need to put yourself first, girl. Okay, guys, so you want to know if the church you're in is a cult. Here's the tea. The church is not connected to any other outside organization. They have like selected pastors, selected preachers that you can listen to, the same people preaching and teaching, because they're very judgmental, like too judgy. Talking about very judgmental with the way that maybe the social status that you're from, maybe you're from the hood and they're judging you because of the way that you speak. Maybe they treat people differently that come in the church that's a bit more wealthier or present themselves better. That's another red flag. Another one is favorites. If they treat people differently in the church
I
and
thought
it's
I
like
repeat it.
more favoritism is shown to another person, they're given more opportunities and you're feeling a bit like an outcast. It's the same people are doing the same thing. It's selected people. it's very selective, like it's got that elitist vibe. You need to run.
That's like in most organizations.
Inclusive. They're not supposed to be precious about who holds the mic, who goes onto the stage, who sits where, who sits there. Another red flag is they want to take your money. You go to a church and they're taking more than 2 offerings. That is a big red flag. You need to be running out that door, babe, because all they gonna do is make you pay bills, and more bills. Yeah. So if the church is rinsing you dry.
Yeah, I think the red flags is important for people to hear, because some people, they think they're going into a family environment and they will class it off as tithes. Or, I mean, fair enough, churches gets tithes and love, what do they call it? Love thing. I forgot what's it called now. But anyway, so they will probably class it off as that. So yeah, I think the red flags is important. The red flags is important in this one. But I want to get to the one where she's explaining where she was in there for, because she said she was in the church for about she was there for 18 years. Oh, she's got music on it. Oh my word. She's got a lot of music on it, people. So I'm gonna play it. She speaks all the time, so maybe when she's on live, I'm gonna play her. Stop sticking. The stickery begins. Okay, let me do it. Come out. Press it again.
Hey y'all, I'm Leah Lauder, mega church cult survivor, and I was in a mega church for 18 years. I'm concerned about the safeguarding in these spaces. Do you know what I mean? You've got all of these pastors that are leading. What credentials do these people have, please? Like, in terms of safeguarding and working with vulnerable young people, because all I see is abusive doctrine. Like yesterday, you've got this pastor talking about, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Do you know, his whole preaching is about Jezebels. His whole preaching is in response to everything that's going on at the moment, because people are speaking out about mega church cult abuse. A fake pastor that's on TikTok doing a live and is going to pop up the account details for people to give that are watching as well, because they're a bunch of thieves. He's doing that up on TikTok. Then he's telling his members not to be on TikTok. What? You're on TikTok, babe. What are you talking about? What that cult tactic is? That's information control. And remember, I said they don't put it to your head and say, don't go on TikTok. But he's doing this in preaching. He's saying that you're not spiritual because you're basically on your phone all the time and you're on apps like TikTok. And he's chosen TikTok because he knows I'm on TikTok exposing him. My cult did exactly the same thing. And I'm going to do a video side by side to expose it. It's the doctrine that's abusive. And that's why in my cult, it's so potent and it's so rampant and it's so riot, because the cult leader writes lots of, so the doctrine in itself is so abusive that there's a solution, there's an answer, there's for everything. Do you see what I mean? So that's where you no longer can make decisions for yourself. Your decision making gets taken away from you, your ability to make a choice and think for yourself. Because every time you got an issue and every time you go to the pastor, they're giving you regurgitated tones and slurs from the cult leader's book. And that's exactly what was happening in my mega church cult. Hey y'all, I'm Leah Lauder, mega church cult survivor, and I was in a mega church for 18 years. I'm concerned about the safeguarding.
Okay, so I'm gonna find her doing her thing. Let me see if I can find it. I think I did actually do. Okay, so on the dark side of the ocean, Yami, I did actually put up the picture of the pastor. So we're gonna get acquainted with them, with the pastor and his wife, because I think she was about to be shown on the thing. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna let it play. Hello?
Cult leader Dag Mills and his wife Adelaide Mills, and basically he's doing up a camp in Switzerland, yeah, And he's only there because Paul is getting married. That's the only reason we've got a picture of these two together, because they're never together. In the whole of the 18 years I've been in that cult, I can count on both hands how many times I've seen these two together in church. Yeah. So I think what he's trying to do up is show that he's human and he's not a malignant narcissist, because I believe that's probably his grandchild. So what I need you lot to know, this is PR. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, they're thinking about the pictures that they're capturing and the image that they're trying to portray for Dag now. They want him to seem more human-like with more emotions, but you're not, Dag. We know that because you've been forcing parents for years to leave their kids and go on the mission fields like Australia and that. And I've got missionaries who have so many stamps in their past, were dragged from pillar to post, because a lot of them don't have visas when they go on the mission field. So the kids are just dragged around. They're not given proper education. You know, they just stay with randoms. They leave their kids in England once they go to, like, you know, underdeveloped places in the world, and they see it as sacrifice. So Dag, I'm really glad you got that time with your grandkids. I know of missionaries that are in their 50s and 60s, and you ain't paying them. And you've isolated them, you've taken them away, you've ripped and torn families apart. I'm really pleased to see that you and Adelaide are enjoying the fruits of your labor and womb with your grandchild. But I don't know, this really irked me seeing this. Another thing I want to say is we're talking about, you know, the women in the church and how they're, you know, internalized misogyny and patriarchy. And there's been generations, you know, of these women that have been taught this way. So Adelaide Eward Mills, for example, she can come, you know, to Switzerland and put on a fake smile, sit next to Dag, pose for her daughter's wedding and keep up appearances, because her mother did that with her dad. Her dad's like a business tycoon, and he's got loads of kids. So Adelaide's been raised like that. She's the result of them kids that I'm talking about, who were taught to put on their glad rags, even though it was an absolute mess and her mum was getting abused, because they see sacrifice, endurance and long suffering as abuse. So that's all she knows. So yeah, guys, it's very, very concerning. I'm not, that doesn't matter, that picture. I want you lot to know that whoever's doing your PR, not working, woke outside. So I've covered quite a few videos, you know, on camera.
So as you can see, it's literally all over the place, because, and I think I know why this is, because one, there's not a lot of people talking about first love, right? High passion. I feel like a lot of people's not talking about first love. A lot of people ain't talking about first love. And I feel that how, like, though I know about mega churches, because I did make sure to educate myself a little bit on one of the mega churches. Like I said, Hillsong is one of them. So I would assume that how, right, they all kind of work the same thing, because Hillsong was very successful until the preacher, I think he did something to someone, a minor. I think he did something to a minor. And so the mega churches can be seen as very trendy for young people, because they make it innovative. It's not like how it is in a Pentecostal, in a, you know, the usual Pentecostal Baptist church where everybody's dancing around the pews and all that stuff. It's definitely a lot of music going on, because when I visited VYG with my young'un, I noticed they go by how people dress. They did suck a lot of money out of the children. They do take a lot of money, because the people, the youngsters have to keep up appearances, have to get their hair done, their nails done, their this done, their that done. They kind of push people aside. If something comes up, they push people aside, like kind of like a shonen kind of business. And people talk about the people that's in the church. I did actually try to get an interview with 2 VYG ex-members, because I felt it was important that other parents hear about it, because a lot of the youngsters gravitated towards it. Yes, it did help. It did take them out of certain places as well, off the streets and all that stuff, but then it's like at a cost. So when I'm hearing about this first love, and I can see that a lot of people is not talking about first love church, considering that he has a lot of churches, a lot of denominations under, well, it's not even denominations under different names. It's all under different names. So it's like, so I feel like even if they are talking about them, you probably wouldn't know that they're talking about first love. Another thing that they pick up from Leah Landry and also the young lady from VYG, when they started bringing up that when like during the Beastmas, they would do certain stuff, like, you know, they come out and they dress as elves or whatever. They do dance, like, you know, like they literally be like minstrels dancing outside shops or whatever. And really, right, you'll see them. Like, now over here, VYG's biggest church is in Finsbury Park. So that's one of the biggest sites that I did research. So I feel that the mega church is like something trendy that they're drawn to, you know. And then I think when they're there for a long time, like Leah, she was there for 18 years, and then she was seeing certain stuff that she disagreed with, and how the pastors would talk about them, and how they would say, okay, don't do A, but they do B. But then, like we know, in some organizations, whether it's a church or organization, there is a little bit of hypocrisy in certain stuff. So when she's talking about certain stuff, it puts me in mind of certain places where I say where I was around. But I'm not saying that how right they were bad. They were bad. It's just that it's to do with the leadership that's there. So, like the first lady in churches, as we know, there is a first lady, and sometimes there'll be money laundering. There's examples shown in many ways. Plus, not only that, on Love and Lockup, where as we can see, there's also an example of a church thing going on, but then there's underlying things going on. So, in all that said, right, I will probably I'm probably going to see if there's any more stuff going on with the church. And when Leah do go live again, I'm going to stream her talking, because she is a wealth of information. I mean, it will be good to have her on here to talk about what happened to. Well, she don't really have to talk about what happened, but she can give examples, and she can be also a warning tool to other young people out there of how dangerous these mega churches are, term cult. Because we know in a cult, there is a way of doing things, right? You know what I mean? Like, if the leader chooses to change his mind and say, okay, today you're going to be my wife, to whoever the member is, then they choose, or they'll think that how right, they're so high up there that they will feel that they are all right to go and touch somebody, essay somebody, right? But we obviously know with Hillsong Church, this didn't end well, right? Because I don't know what else to say, but definitely there is loads of organizations that fall under the same thing. No organization is no different. Even if they start off one way, ethical, godly, however you want to put it, then I think the ego, you know, especially if they have charisma, because they're able to pull in people, they're able to recruit people, they're able to pull in, like, plus not only that, money starts coming in, you know what I mean? They start off with a humble beginning, then they turn into a huge thing, a huge church, because the money's coming in fast. Next thing you know, you see, which we know from SPAC Nation, Toby had loads of young people that was in his church. He had various spaces where he was helping them, but then at the same time he was drawing the money. Then he was buying Lamborghinis and different stuff. They was all driving and going certain places. I don't know whether anybody's heard of SPAC Nation. If you've heard of SPAC Nation, then you know what I'm talking about. Spat Nation is another one that had a lot of controversy underneath it for a very long time. I remember watching a lot of videos pertaining to that. Toby, who is kind of similar to this guy, was named Doug Howard. Like just putting on a show. That's what he was. He put on a show. You know, it's all, you know, when they say all what glitters is not gold, that is truly what is Spac Nation. Most of these places, when you see them looking kind of glittery and pretty, and you'll think the grass is greener, it's not exactly greener. It's just that how they have been scamming the whole church for a very long time, or scamming and taking the money, like traveling, doing whatever they got to do, gambling, whatever. So even after they stand up on a pulpit for how long, preaching, Revelations, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, all that, then when they come off the pulpit, it's something different. So that's why when I saw that example of that old lady, that video of that old lady, and how the deacon, because he's a deacon or a shepherd, was behaving when she said, "Oh, I'm not giving this amount of money because like you lot like telling too much or doing whatever." So of course there will be a fight because they're trying to keep that huge money, stop that huge money from leaving. So they will fight to get it. And he literally fought her for whatever reasons, and then calling her troublesome. Now, I think with Leah, is most probably might be the same way. To say, oh, yeah, she's troublesome. They're trying to get her pages, trying to do all sorts. But she always goes and talks out all the time. I'll give it a little bit of Spac Nation so you can see who Spac Nation is. Right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of Spac Nation. Because there was a lot of stuff with Spac Nation. I don't even know if I'm going to go through the longest video, but let me see when this was. He was in a court hearing. Oh, wow. I need to check to see what's going on with Spac Nation. In fact, are they locked? Okay. So what I'm going to show now is another church. Okay. It's like a mega church full of youngsters still going on to this day. Spac Nation, run by Toby. I can't say the African name, but run by Toby. He was exposed a lot of times. A lot of things was coming out about Spac Nation. As early as before 2016, a lot of stuff was coming out about Spac Nation. So when I'm saying that these mega churches or whatever churches, they are very dangerous to even the vulnerablest youngster out there. Might help them, but then it's a two-edged sword.
Detective now, isn't it?
And if you end up enjoying this video, I'd really appreciate if you hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below for me to reply to later. Now, this might be a long one, so let's crack right in to the documentary. The distinctions between a cult and a legitimate religion are fine ones. The saying goes, cult plus time equals religion. Either way, all religious movements and organisations need a leader. The time was 2008, the place was South London, and the man was one Toby Adeboyega, an enigmatic man with a past that's hard to pin down, Stitching tidbits from various interviews and online articles is the only way I could get a vague idea of the origins of this man, now known globally as Pastor Toby. Apparently, Toby moved from Lagos, Nigeria to London in 2005 at 22 years old. He already had family in Peckham, so lived with them whilst he got settled in the UK, sharing a room with his cousin, get this, a 14-year-old John Boyega. Toby lived in John's parents' house, potentially taking influence from John's dad, Samson Adeboyega, who was already a Pentecostal minister, establishing SPAC Nation 3 years later in 2008 at 25 years old. However, saying that, I could find very little online about Toby's life prior to London. He might have already been involved in the church back home. There's a brief mention of him, quote, earning millions from property consulting on a 2019 documentary on BBC that we'll be taking a look at later on. But it doesn't say when he did this property consulting, and I've never heard it mentioned again anywhere. So it makes sense to me to think that John's dad being a minister in England sparked some sort of idea in Toby's head. So in 2008, SPAC Nation was born. According to Toby himself, it started with 3 people in the corners of Peckham, South London. The church was then officially incorporated as a charity in 2012, which in the UK means they became an official legal entity, like a company that can have contracts and own properties in its name. Also, and more importantly, charities in the UK don't pay tax on most types of income as long as they use it for charitable purposes, a point that will become very relevant in the coming years. SPAC Nation spent the best part of its first decade in existence in obscurity, staying under the radar and growing exponentially, recruiting and increasing their fellowship from 3 people to over 1,000. It wasn't until 2018 that SPAC Nation started getting some real media attention, following a documentary by Radio 1 Extra in May of that year called Gangs, Drill and Prayer. The focus of this documentary is 2 specific elements of the church, 2 elements that caught the filmmaker's attention, and they're really the 2 elements that initially shot SPAC Nation to countrywide fame. The drill rappers in church, and the church's mission to turn ex-gang members into pastors. The videos of rappers wearing ballys in church were some of the first images from SPAC to go viral, for obvious reasons. Dudes are wearing balaclavas and spitting over drill beats in a supposed house of God. It's pretty jarring. They're a group called Hope Dealers, and their whole gimmick is that they're drill rappers who spit bars about God. They started appearing on some of the UK's online freestyle platforms a few years before this One Extra documentary, dropping a black box in 2017 and appearing on Fire in the Booth in 2018, just before this documentary. But really, neither of those appearances gained that much attention. And you get the feeling Charlie Sloth had them on just because of the whole gospel drill gimmick. It wasn't until after this One Extra documentary that Hope Dealers got some big attention, going viral with their single Trap Mash and the dance move that went with it. The obvious link between the group and the church is that they're members of the congregation, but it goes deeper than that. Hope Dealers were the first real in-your-face example of the church investing in a business. The business, in this context, being the music career of Hope Dealers. It's unclear exactly what the arrangement is, whether they have a contract with some sort of record label affiliated with the church, or with Pastor Toby directly. Either way, these boys were funded by the church, and it's no secret that the church had a financial interest in their success. And that might seem a bit weird in itself. It is, but all will become clear later on. In this 2018 documentary, however, the question of why the church was investing in Hope Dealers' career, or investing in anything for that matter, wasn't questioned. The Hope Dealers were featured mostly because there was a bit of controversy online about having this sort of music in church, and if using Bibles as guns in videos and stuff like that was blasphemous.
Back in Jesus' time, 2,000 years ago, there was no black boys selling weed or cocaine.
In hindsight, this sits as one of the smaller controversies in the history of SPAC Nation. The view this documentary took was that Hope Dealers were a positive force, rapping about God rather than violence and encouraging young people to swap gun talk for Bible talk. That takes us neatly onto the main reason this documentary was made about SPAC. The Hope Dealers were just a sideshow to SPAC's holy mission to take young troublemakers and gang members off the streets and turn them into pastors. The doc follows Enrique, an ex-gang member making a transition to a pastor at the age of 21.
I feel very heartbroken seeing young people doing this sort of rap music. that I used to do, not necessarily because they rap in music, but them living the life that I used to live. It breaks my heart. It hurts me. That's the truth, because I know where that leads to, living that lifestyle, living a gang lifestyle.
To me, Enrique is the perfect example of what SPAC Nation is looking for when it comes to recruitment, or winning souls, as they like to call it. He's young, vulnerable, and attracted to the money as much as he is to the word of God. Enrique reveals to the documentary cameras that Pastor Toby bought him a new Mercedes. To me, this is clearly an example of grooming. Enrique is a vulnerable young man, and he's being gifted super expensive things that he could never pay for himself. So he's going to feel indebted to Pastor Toby and the church.
See, and this is exactly what Leah was talking about. You see what I mean? He feels indebted to him because he gave him a Lamborghini. Like, you know, as like a youngster, can you imagine being a youngster and you're being given something like that? Because yes, that is a form of groom. That's also a form of recruitment. It's a form of recruitment as well, though he's already in the church. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to let continue.
There's no such thing as a no strings attached brand new Mercedes.
The reason why I'm able to drive in a nice car like this, my amazing pastor, Pastor Toby, decided to buy me this car. That's the truth. He decided to buy it for me. Society won't understand that when you serve God, God blesses you. It's the simple fact.
The documentary sort of touches on
how is it when some big grown man is giving you something? What does he want? That's my question. What does he want? What is behind giving you that gift? What does he want you to do? You know, but this young man's young. He's not going to understand. Great more widows, just what we need. These guys been around for ages, Leonard. They've been around for a long time. For a long time. You know, I remember people talking about SPAC Nation. That's what I'm saying. I've never heard of First Love. I heard of First Love a couple months ago, I think it was, but I didn't see. I thought people knew about First Love, but I think it's like not a lot of people know about First Love or SPAC Nation, VYG. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of churches, and I mean, I've only just listed like 4 of them. So yeah, let this.
How a church with this amount of disposable income and material goods is a bit weird, with this random taxi driver who also happens to be a more traditional Christian preacher mentioning the C word.
Without due respect, I wouldn't want anybody, if I say it's a cult, what if they say my own is a cult? You get me?
But overall, the position of this film is that SPAC Nation are an organization bringing salvation to the streets through the word of God, changing lives for the better. And that was the perception of the public at large at the time when they first saw this documentary. SPAC was a good thing, albeit they're a bit strange. The rappers are weird, the money is weird, but everyone was blinded by the lives they were apparently changing. It's easy to say in hindsight that there are quite a lot of warning signs of grooming and at the very least questionable morals when it comes to material goods and the church shown in this documentary. But at the time, I can see why this all looked positive. This guy Enrique had turned his life around, but at what cost? Throughout the rest of 2018, mostly positive media coverage continued, this time with a slot on BBC Morning TV with the Victoria Derbyshire show.
The lives of these young men may be the most remarkable. Some were once notorious gangsters, but now they've put their past behind them for one common goal: to prevent violence and save lives.
Again, the angle was that the church was helping ex-gang members, and the mini-documentary featured interviews with current members giving their testimony on how much the church turned their life around. It even features our main man, SPAC poster child, Pastor Enrique.
And I just literally let them know that, you see, if I could be a gang member, being stabbed at the age of 17, nearly dying, you know, and stuff like that, but now I'm not just the youngest pastor in SPAC Nation, but also the leader of one of the community units in SPAC Nation. I just say to them that, you see, if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. if mentorship is applied, if mentorship is provided, which is what Pastor Toby has been doing for myself, Pastor Sam, and many of other young men and women in SPAC Nation.
There was even a segment that showed how, at the time, Pastor Toby lived with 14 ex-gang members who were now members of SPAC. This is the first time the notion of SPAC Nation members living together has been mentioned, but it's certainly won't be the last.
Just 2 years ago, Connor was facing a 12-year prison sentence for violent crimes. He's one of 14 ex-offenders who now lives with Pastor Toby at his home.
The show even says that the Metropolitan Police have came out in support of Pastor Toby's approach to, quote, solving knife crime, and they'd like more churches to follow in SPAC's footsteps. The feds seem to think that SPAC is a normal church just like any other, but as we know by this point, it's most definitely one of the most unique religious organisations the UK has ever seen. However, not everyone was blinded by SPAC's newfound media hype, and rumours and accusations were swirling around the internet, most of which suggesting that SPAC seem a bit like a cult or a pyramid scheme. And granted, the editors at the BBC gave these concerns all of 5 seconds of airtime before going back to hammering home the fact that SPAC are London saviours.
A guy comes to church who is trying to go to Harvard from Stratford, and he's not able to go, and then we give them money to go. If that's what a cult means, then we've got to be a cult.
Structure your cult like an onion, with the most benign and helpful features on the outside and the most controlling, kooky, and evil parts at the secret inner core. Use deception. Don't tell them who you really are. Lie. Leave out important information or distort information.
Are you trying to recruit me? No. I'm just trying to share something meaningful with you.
Come 2019, the success of Hope Dealers' Trap Mash single and their run of positive media coverage in 2018, SPAC Nation was riding high and looking to keep their momentum going. Because at the end of the day, the more positive media coverage, the more exposure and the higher profile SPAC Nation becomes, the more legitimate the organisation looks to outsiders, meaning more people will be attracted to join. Because for SPAC, the more safe souls means more money in their pockets. Speaking of the money question, which was still yet to be addressed by any of these mainstream media outlets given SPAC coverage, some light would finally be shed on their finances in March 2019. It turns out the BBC just can't get enough of SPAC, so they went in for a second look for BBC Three's Escaping Gang series. This episode was entitled Death, Jail or Redemption.
My church, SPAC Nation, is offering gang members everything that the government can't offer them, everything that the authorities can't offer them. Do you understand? Which is a way out.
This particular documentary focused much more on the cult of personality that is Pastor Toby, and how SPAC actually worked from a financial point of view. Despite still coming from an overall positive standpoint, again riding with the current SPAC members to get their point of view, this doc spreads its net a little bit wider, offering some more criticism and, if anything, giving people more reason to think that SPAC was some sort of dodgy pyramid scheme. In parts, it feels as if Toby is trying to use this documentary as a way of responding to those who have questioned all the wealth surrounding the church. He again and again tries to deflect the money issue by rationalising it in saying that he drives these uber expensive cars and dresses head to toe in designer because that's what young people are attracted to.
They see you as part of them. Why are they attracted to Jay-Z? Why are they attracted to all the musicians? Why are they attracted to drug dealers? They just love the face of the drug dealer? No. No matter how much you mean well for people, if you can't get them to listen to you, then nothing is going to happen.
He's got a point, sure. Young people might be attracted to money and nice things, but it does.
Yeah, he does have a point, but at the same time, is you are doing the same thing what they're doing, basically, the same thing what the drug dealers are doing, and the same thing what the rappers are doing, and you're thinking it's okay. Really, right? You're supposed to engage them away from that, not engage them into it. Especially some of the youngsters are in gang life. You're supposed to try and get them away from that thinking, because you can literally put something into the mind of a youngster that they will remember for a very long time. They don't necessarily have to be materialistic or stuff, right? You can even teach them that the humblest thing in front of them, right? They can make nothing into something, basically. So he's definitely given that air of, okay, well, like this how this why, you know, like, yeah, like you got to live like Jay-Z and them. No, you don't have to live like Jay-Z. The richest man looks like the poorest man on street. Keanu Reeves rode a subway. I think, yeah, subway or a train, right? He dressed like any other man, right? He's probably worth a lot of money in hindsight, but he rode on a train like every other person, right? What's it? Richard Branson used to dress very humble at one point. You didn't even know he was a rich man. So by you educating the youngsters about those little things, sometimes you have to find something that they like, and then you try to give the nearest example to it so that they could remember, so that they can think about it. But what he's doing, he's feeding into it. So you're feeding into it and saying, okay, was okay, like, you know, is this anyways, I'm gonna let go on because I don't know whether Toby's still around. He probably is. Well, anyways, let's let this continue.
Doesn't go a long way to actually explain where it all came from in the first place. And that's Toby Adeboyega's game all over in this documentary and in his public persona in general. He's like a skilled politician. He deflects and uses smoke and mirror tactics to answer questions without really answering them at all. This is the documentary that briefly mentions Toby's millions made by consulting on property deals, glossing over that quickly as sort of a catch-all answer to how have you got all this money? Oh, it must have been all that property consultant work. It soon becomes clear that the money isn't because Toby's some sort of property consultant mogul, and in fact comes from the church's congregation in various ways. The first way the church makes money is from direct donations, or sowing seed as they called it, putting money into the church so that God will in return bless you with more wealth now and in the afterlife.
Remember, healing is free will.
When you go into the ground, is the money gonna follow you into the ground? Is it? Yeah, all them things gonna follow you into the ground. That's interesting. How to use that thing that I can never think of the words. It's amazing how he used that word. Sam Walton of Walmart, Sam's wore regular clothes and drove an old car before he Exactly. But what they tell these boys, these young men and women, you know, because remember the Kardashians was doing it for a long time. Oh, you must have this. Oh, you must do. When you see, right, you see when you're old and when you're reaching that time of transitioning or passing, right, everybody go into that, what do you call it, that casket, the casket, whether it pine, wood, whatever. When you go into the ground, nothing's going in there with you. Nothing goes in there with you apart from you. You and the maggots and the worms have to deal with it. Yes, there is an afterlife, but the way how he's done it, what he's used is the Egyptian afterlife thing. You know, where the Egyptians used to have their riches in the coffin with them. But then, how much years later, people came and they took all that and took it all around the world, you know. So it's like what you're telling them is absolutely ridiculousness at the end of the day. And this is why these children nowadays some of them are so ignorant to certain stuff. Humble beginnings. It's nice to come from humble beginnings, but it's like they don't think about that. They don't look at them side of things. Yeah. All what glitters is not gold, right? The grass is not always greener. Little things like that. You know, my grandmother always used to say, what's it? You mustn't watch what somebody have because you don't know how they get it. Because remember, right, they're saying, oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, right. They don't know Why they they didn't figure out how he got the money. I'm just gonna make it play.
Is your heart? We can never change these lives without money.
SPAC is a charity after all, let's not forget. And as a charity, SPAC Nation has to declare their donations to the Charity Commission, making it public record. So this is the only aspect of their finances that they'll address head on, because they literally can't hide it. You're thinking church donations. That's normal, and it is. But when they're reporting donations of almost £1 million a year, then surely some questions have to be asked there. It'll transpire later down the line that SPAC's donations aren't quite as voluntary as you might expect. The second method the church employs to finance itself and Pastor Toby's luxury lifestyle is where the church's financial setup really starts to become clear. And when I say clear, I of course mean purposefully vague and confusing so that no one really knows what's going on, but clear enough to know whatever is going on is pretty questionable. After the talk of donations, the documentary goes on to follow a fella called Kevin, who tells us that SPAC funds young people to start businesses, and they gave him a £30,000 cash injection to start his chauffeuring business. This is linking back to the investing in hope dealers that I mentioned earlier. However, this time we're actually getting some, if only a little, insight into the actual amount of money involved.
Church members fund young people to start their own companies. They helped Kevin get out of gang life by funding him with 30 grand to start up his chauffeuring firm.
As you'd expect, the agreement between Kevin and the church is never really explained, and it just leaves so many more questions.
So does that mean whatever he makes, he has to give back to SPAC Nation? That sounds more like it, innit? Because if they're invested in you, does that mean that that means that they're gonna take a percentage out of whatever you make? You know, that's like a loan, innit? Like what the bank gives you. A business loan. If you get a business loan, right, you have to make a good amount so that you can pay back the bank, sometime with extras. So he must have to give something. I'm sure they're going to say later on in this what he had to give.
Where did this £30,000 come from? Does SPAC own your business? Do you have to pay the money back? Why is a church investing in a business anyway? Are we truly supposed to believe that all this is legit and this church are just charitably handing out 30k to ex-gang members out of the goodness of their hearts? If this was really the situation, I'd be front and centre at SPAC tomorrow asking for 30 grand and telling them how much I love God, how much I love them, if I knew I was going to get 30 grand out of it to start whatever business I wanted. As much as I'm joking, that's exactly how I imagine the system works. These people are indebted to the church. Anyway, there's no need to worry, as Pastor Toby is here to answer all of our burning questions, as we follow our boy Kevin with his rapper friend Young Diz, a man that describes himself as one of East London's most violent gangsters, as they take a trip to Pastor Toby's lavish house to discuss the church investing in Diz's music, in one of the strangest business meetings ever caught on camera.
But this is the deal with this, and I'm going to be very straight with you, if you don't mind. This is the deal. You love music. Yeah. You want to do music. What I'm saying is this. We've got to take this music thing. I think we even have a studio now coming to Beckton. We've got to take it to the next stage. But I need guys like you. You guys can connect to the next generation. Are you going to make money from this? I'm willing to put as much as it takes in. The only thing I can't put into is violence.
And he's really looking up to him like a big brother, like a father figure. Because bear in mind, half of these boys have no fathers in their life. So when they come across someone like him, right, it's a father figure they're looking as well. The way how he's looking and he's listening. You know when the daddy's talking to the son and say, son, this is how you do it. Maybe we should do blah, blah, blah. Maybe we should do blah, blah, blah. This is what this looks like. That's why to the guy, it looks weird, like a weird business meeting. Because he's talking to him like as though he's talking to his son, right? So it's very informal. They're not wearing suits, they're not around a round table, so so most of these boys are looking a daddy figure, and he is that. That's why they're listening so intensely to what he's saying.
Now, you and your guys got to respect what I'm trying to do as well. We've got to pass a positive message. That's my thought. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, I'm taking it in still. I respect that still. I respect everything you say.
Yeah.
Did you get it? So.
It may be worth mentioning at this point that a year later, young Diz would be on a television show again, and in headlines, for grooming teenage boys with free food to go out and carry drug-related killings for him. Spoiler alert, Diz didn't change his lyrics to gospel and get funding from the church before committing these crimes, but the all-knowing Pastor Toby was more than willing to hand this guy cash. My point being, why does someone like young Diz, someone who not once showed any willingness to change or give half a shit about God, even deserve that opportunity? I know SPAC's whole MO is taking ex-gangsters off the streets, but my man wasn't even an ex-gangster, he was active. At that point, you are just funding criminals. Both parties just sat pretending to give a shit about God so they can make some cold, hard cash. That's really what it is. Anyway, back to the church's non-existent, but clearly very existent, business empire. According to Tobes, the church doesn't own the businesses they invest in, but he hopes the ones that are successful will invest in other church-affiliated businesses.
The church don't own the companies they help kickstart, but successful entrepreneurs are invited to invest back into other church-affiliated businesses.
To me, the term church-affiliated businesses is a red flag in itself. Why does a church appear to have a portfolio of businesses, and why is Pastor Toby trying to convince us that he's giving out this money virtually catch-free? Despite the so-called transparency from SPAC on this BBC Three documentary, the question of where all the money is really coming from is still not properly addressed. Let's pretend the money is all legit, that Pastor Toby made it from property consulting. If SPAC is some sort of business organisation investing in young people and taking them away from gangs, then that's great. But what does God and being a church have anything to do with it? Is this whole thing about saving souls in the name of Christianity, or is it all just motivated by pure greed? You'd think that the BBC...
It's all a scam. It's all a bloody scam. All of it. It's all a bloody scam. He didn't even vet the boy, the guy. It's like, like this is things you see in movies. Like, what's it? Sin and Sinners. Sinners, I think it's called. These are things you see in movies, right? You know what I mean? Now, it's like, and the fact that the guy went and he carried on doing his own little thing till he got caught by the I was gonna call him feds, by the police. It's just like he didn't vet nobody. Like, you know what I mean? He just want to be seen as this, okay, right, I'm helping people come out of crime and all this stuff, when in case you're not even doing that.
Three documentary would result in some bad press for SPAC, but its overall message stuck to that usual SPAC spin, that the church was a force for good. So the positive SPAC press run continued throughout 2019, seeing them grow in power and influence in the capital. The young prodigy pastor Enrique was listed as one of London's most influential people under 25 by the Evening Standard. His occupation listed as an anti-knife activist. In September, Pastor Toby made headlines after attending the Conservative Party conference, sat behind cabinet ministers like Priti Patel and Sajid Javid for Boris Johnson's speech. According to Pastor Toby on Twitter, he was at the conference because he received an invite from the Prime Minister's office. So why would the Prime Minister of the UK invite Toby to this thing? It just shows the bonds he and SPAC had already created with the political elite. Toby wanted to further reinforce these bonds and to be seen as a man of power and influence at this conference. And it's hard to argue that at the time, that's not exactly what he was. He was the head of an organisation that had both the backing of politicians and the Met Police. SPAC could do no wrong. And even if they did, would politicians and institutions even be willing to call out their knife crime tackling buddies? It turns out we'd find out the answer to that question a lot sooner than we thought. as SPAC Nation's positive media hype train came to a halt in a ball of flames and controversy at the back end of 2019.
You've got people in trust who are effectively financially grooming young people. They're being completely manipulated for the worth they've got, which isn't very much financially, but it's their credit rating. And they're being groomed for gaining funds for someone else's purpose. And it's wrong at every level.
Almost, would you say that SPAC is a place where they groom young kids?
I am convinced that SPAC Nation is a cult. They advertise events targeted mainly at young black people in poorer parts of London.
In November, it was reported that the Metropolitan Police were launching an inquiry into SPAC, requested by some members of Parliament and House of Commons, into allegations of fraud and other possible offences. Some of these other possible offences included pressuring young people into donating thousands, including by taking out loans to put into the church, some without the consent or knowledge of the member involved, and multiple allegations resulting to abuse at SPAC Nation's so-called trap houses, homes where they have a number of members stay together, overseen by pastors. Some of the abuse allegations included sexual abuse and assault. These safe houses, or trap houses, standard for take risks and prosper, are one of the strangest and most cult-like elements of the SPAC Nation setup. With properties all around London, these houses were set up apparently to remove these ex-gang members from areas and people that would drag them back into that lifestyle, which makes sense in isolation. But with these allegations, it transpired that these trap houses are more so about the church exerting more control over its members, knowing where they are at all times and having their pastors over there feeding them the church propaganda and way of thinking 24/7.
I said to my girls this morning, I don't know what you think is happening in this house. I tell you what to do with your finances. I tell you where you're going. It's not like you have an option. If you have an option as you're leaving the house, yes sir, as you're leaving the house, drop your key in the letterbox. I need an order. A house of order is a house that will prosper.
After the news broke of the police inquiry, one politician took a vocal stand against SPAC. MP for Croydon North and Labour Shadow Minister for Child Protection, Steve Reid, criticised the police for not acting on these allegations sooner, as the rumours had been circulating on social media for months. Reid claimed that girls under 18 had been pressured into having sex with members of the church that were over 18. Steve Reid further suggested that criticising SPAC Nation, an organisation that was helping to deal with the rise in knife crime in London, was for some not convenient, i.e. the Met Police and SPAC Nation's Conservative Party allies.
I am convinced that SPAC Nation is a cult. They advertise events targeted mainly at young black people in poorer parts of London. They offer free food or free bowling sessions to attract young people to come along. The young leaders vet the young people who turn up, and they then target those who appear to be the most susceptible. They befriend these particular young people, and they invite them to further functions and events, including dinners. One of the organisation's leaders will start phoning them, sometimes several times a day. They're then given lifts by that individual to meeting. Then what appears to be brainwashing starts. They're told that if their life is unsuccessful, if their family is poor, that's because they're not giving enough money to God. Some young people are encouraged to break their links with their families and move into properties rented by the organisation's leaders. They call them trap houses, the term used for drug dens in the United States. A woman leader of this organisation running one of these trap houses where vulnerable young girls were placed has 27 convictions for serious fraud. No vulnerable child should be allowed anywhere near her.
HuffPost's Nadeem White penned a great article around this time, breaking down how the media's initial super positive, hardly critical take on SPAC did a lot to legitimise what they were doing and help this fraud and abuse go unnoticed. As the police inquiry continued to roll on, the most damning evidence against SPAC all came out in a special episode of BBC's Panorama, putting the final nail in the coffin as far as the perception of the general public was concerned.
It's easy to see why SPAC Nation is so attractive for young people. But on social media, serious concerns have been surfacing about the church's fundraising activities.
Focusing largely on the allegations of fraud against the church, this documentary finally lifted the curtain on SPAC's questionable income, confirming the suspicions that many had had from the first time they saw Pastor Toby step out of a Lamborghini. Everything from loan scams to bank fraud after stealing the identities of their members.
In March, she discovered that a 4-year loan with the company Amigo had been taken out in her name. She confronted another senior pastor about it.
I basically asked what's happening, why do I have a loan in my name, and they
Don't that sound like carbonation? Oh Lord, that sounds just like carbonation. It's so strange, you know, how they dupe these youngsters. So now she's gonna have a bankruptcy thing on her name. She's gonna be blacklisted. It's gonna take her a long time for her to get her name cleared so that she can go and do what she has to do to go get a bank loan, to go do what she has, you know, little things, you know. Because like most places, they check your credit score, and they're gonna see that how she's got this on her name. But I think she did get it lifted off, if I remember rightly, this young lady, in the end. You know, it took it a long time, but she did actually get it sorted.
basically said the loan was for the greater good and they were going to use the money to buy a bigger trap house.
We've also seen a WhatsApp leaders chat from inside the church in which Toby Adeboyega himself says you guys have been good in raising loans.
If it wasn't fraud and scams, the church was putting immense pressure on its members for donations or seed, with Pastor Toby even going as far as claiming they aim to get £1 million monthly. It's just insane. Bear in mind that this is footage and clips from people who claim to represent a charity organisation.
What amount does this work need monthly? And I put it that we need £1 million monthly. 1 million.
Basic person in a month should give £1,000. I think that's normal. I think it's no big deal. It's not even that deep.
Total this year, including crossover, is 761,440.
More than £750,000, but that's not enough for Toby Adeboyega.
But I tell you, June ending, we've got to reach £1 million.
Panorama has now spoken to many young people who say they felt under intense pressure to give.
I know people personally that have given £1,000 a week. You don't ever question how you get the money, you just get the money and give.
When you are the
So they will basically go back to work to where they met them. They go back to doing gang running and all whatever to go get that money. Because like it's like you're getting the money by any means necessary at this point. It's the world's effed up, man. It's totally turned upside down.
biggest giver is noted. Like, you will be endorsed, you will be called on stage, you will be shown love, and you'll be treated differently.
Just under £59,000 funded 5 full-time staff. But the accounts don't explain how the lavish lifestyle of Toby Adeboyega is being paid for.
The documentary also lifted the lid of the culture at these trap houses and how the so-called generals control them and members that live in them.
SPAC Nation is in front of you 24/7, in your ears 24/7, so you don't know anything else. What you're seeing is PT's vision. That's what he wants you to see.
One of these generals in charge of a trap house, Mariam Mabula, would have her own BBC documentary a year later in 2020, detailing the frauds that she'd already been involved in prior to SPAC, as well as her activities in SPAC, primarily being in charge of a female trap house and forcing the members to hand over control of their finances to her.
Living with Mariam is like your best dream and your worst nightmare. You don't even realize like all the crazy things you do for her. If skills of manipulation aren't the biggest sign of a cult leader, then I do not know what is.
The release of this Panorama episode was a watershed moment. These accusations that were previously just put down to dismissible internet rumours had real weight, backed by those who actually had been a part of SPAC and came out the other side without being brainwashed. However, in February 2020, Scotland Yard announced that it would not be launching a criminal investigation into SPAC Nation following a review of the allegations. In response, SPAC stated, "We believe the police have come to a fair conclusion following their inquiry." Some former members of SPAC criticised the decision, stating that the police had not spoken to all alleged witnesses, but in the end it seemed that SPAC had somehow, some way, dodged a huge bullet. Despite what the police had to say though, their reputation at large was still in tatters in the eyes of the public. SPAC and Toby Adeboyega's craving for the spotlight had seemed to dim somewhat in the wake of these allegations, with no mainstream media outlet willing to touch them anymore. In May 2020, Pastor Toby came out from under his golden-encrusted rock to address his people. In a very confusing speech online, PT began referring to himself as the global leader of SPAC, before saying that he was stepping down in some capacity and passing the baton on to the younger generation, his so-called family heads. Finally, he discussed taking the SPAC template in other countries around the world, suggesting that he has ambition to turn SPAC into an international religious organisation. Maybe like the Church of Scientology, perhaps. The next month, in June, SPAC seemingly saw that the public perception of their brand was at an all-time low, so they rebranded as the Nixton family. It's exactly the same setup, but just with a new name and logos. Then, in December 2020, it finally seemed like the accusations from earlier in the year had caught up with SPAC, as the police revealed that they had arrested a number of members of SPAC and raided their trap houses off the back of an ongoing investigation into fraud. However, the police did go on to state that the investigation was targeted at individuals and not the organisation as a whole. For a lot of people though, this only further confirmed what they had already thought about SPAC. Regardless of the police claiming that the arrests weren't related to anything SPAC had done as an organisation, for many, it was too much of a coincidence that SPAC seemed to attract and promote so many fraudsters into positions of power. After a quiet 2021, it appeared SPAC Nation, or the Nixton family, had virtually dodged all the bullets fired at them over the past couple of years and were continuing to grow despite all the negative media coverage. In fact, they were so confident that things were going swimmingly that Pastor Toby decided to make an appearance on popular YouTube chat show, The Al Hannon Poet Show. Targeted mainly at young people, it's more or less a comedy show where two internet personalities have a laugh with their guests, often rappers and other internet personalities, with the occasional serious topic or question being discussed. Having met Al Hannon Poet in the past, Pastor Toby clearly felt very comfortable, and the show started as expected, with them more or less taking the piss out of him and occasionally laughing with him. But in between the jokes, Al-Han made genuine attempts to put the allegations to Pastor Toby in the most frank and upfront way possible.
SPAC is a registered charity, right?
Yes, it is a registered charity.
So you don't pay any tax. I'm just saying, are you a manipulator?
What does that mean, though?
First and foremost, would you say that SPAC is a place where they groom young kids?
Everything from grooming to tax fraud and abuse at trap houses, Al-Han laid it on Pastor Toby. And in his usual fashion, Toby ducked, dived, diverted, answering questions like a politician, all whilst having a smile on his face.
Pastor, this is what you do. You're really good at it, though.
Get there.
We're driving straight,
You're gonna
and
get
you
there.
distract us. Look, there's McDonald's there. Let's quickly go here. No, Pastor, we've got to get there by 2 o'clock. Let's hurry up. We're in the yellow Ferrari. Quickly sign the Bible.
The most interesting part was when Al-Han put to him a question that I know I'd been thinking all along. The most confusing part about SPAC. If they're all about investing in young people's businesses to give them an opportunity to better themselves, why bother with any of the church stuff?
I believe that if you were to set this up as like some type of trust fund or like an investment or almost like a social enterprise that promises, to take young people off the streets and you're going to put money in their pockets and develop their businesses, whether it's car rentals, whether it's houses and property development, watches, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And just focus solely on the business and the financial side of things. I don't even think people would bat an eyelid, and I still think you could go around with the watches and the cars, and you could be seen as this entrepreneur that is celebrated or whatever. But the weird thing is, obviously, the link with Jesus and the church, and that's where I think a lot of people kind of draw the line and think this is almost borderline disrespectful and somewhat confusing.
In my opinion, the real answer to this question is where the main issue lies with SPAC. It's clear to me that the religious stuff is all a front for making cold hard cash. It's all about money. And again, in my opinion, they use the church side of it to attract people, to give them hope, to give them a divine reason to hand over their money and trust the pastors. This isn't the pastor's ideas you're following here. This isn't some scheme to empty your bank account. Oh no, this is the word of God. In a lot of cases, people turn to religion in their most desperate times, and this is what SPAC Nation uses to its advantage. There are definitely cult undertones and cult elements to SPAC or the Nixon family, but in reality, it's all just a big fraud-funded pyramid scheme that disarms people with the word of God. I'm not saying PT doesn't believe in what he preaches, I'm sure he does, but there's something that he believes in much more than the power of God, and that's the power of money.
So how much did you pay off for Scotland Yard to leave
Pay
you alone?
off?
Yeah.
I wish I had this kind of money.
Oh, come on, man. Stop with
They
that.
haven't left me alone. They haven't left me.
Is it?
Yeah, of course.
Scotland Yard are still there?
Not Scotland Yard. You have those little police stations who feel they will get promotion by bringing that.
But they're
down.
bored though, innit?
Yeah,
They
so
to do at
they
home.
haven't left me alone. But I'm saying now, I'm public again. Try me.
What?
Do your worst. You can get him. Get me.
It turns out that there was someone willing to take Toby up on his challenge to come and get him, the mighty British government. In June 2022, SPAC Nation was found insolvent by the insolvency service arm of the government, forcing them to shut down as a company. SPAC was deemed to have suspicious or incorrect accounting records, which failed to support its claims of donations or alleged expenditure.
I just saw that just now because I was just seeing whether they're still going, and that was one of the things they talked about. That was done in June. Hold on, when was that? Now he said June. Well, he said 2022, right? So in June 2022, it was reported that SPAC Nation had been found insolvent following an investigation by the service and forced to shut down. So the government forced to shut them down because it was all false promises, all false advertisement, false everything else, false charity. So SPAC Nation doesn't exist, but Nixon exists. So I wonder if they have cotton on that, how though they changed their name, that is the same body that is continuing work in the same organization, just under a different name. You know, so yeah, I wasn't hoping to go over 2 hours, but there's a lot in this video. I'm just trying to give an example of the mega churches and what goes on, and this is one example that most people know about in the UK, particularly of mega church money laundering, all sorts of stuff going on underneath the word of church, right? So this to me is like something out of a Nollywood movie, basically, to me, or a not I was gonna say Lifetime movie and all that, because like the way he's operating and moving, then he puts out a challenge for someone to come and get him. So as you see now, the English government said, okay, right, we're gonna get you then. So let's see what they do to him when they do finally get him, or does he get prison time, or does he run, or what happens to him? Because I haven't heard nothing about Toby in a long time. So let's see where this goes.
SPAC was found to have submitted inconsistent information to both the Insolvency Service and the Charity Commission. Salvation Proclaimer Ministers Limited, trading as SPAC Nation, was officially wound up by order of the High Court on the 9th of June 2022. However, this doesn't prevent SPAC from rebranding and re-registering as a charitable company under a new name. Hello, the Nixon family. Who can say what's next for SPAC and Pastor Toby? He's become a sort of pseudo-celebrity in his own right now, following years of media spotlight. Throughout 2022, he's been paying Link Up TV, or assume that he's paying them anyway, for them to post videos of him just straight up.
I can't stand Link Up TV. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I've seen Link Up TV. My son used to watch Link Up TV. I don't even like it. I don't like it. And I did not know that Toby went to Link Up TV. So he's the new Vlad version over here. Vlad TV over here, basically. So this guy is like so-called celebrity. I don't think he is. I think he's just known for being a scammer, a cult leader, thief, robber, however you want to place him in, because he didn't care for those people. He didn't care for the people that was underneath him. Right? He will tell them that how right they have to give their seed, they have to throw the seed, being the money that they have to throw so he can live a lavish, that's what it's called, a lavish lifestyle, not luxury lifestyle, a lavish lifestyle for show, flashing, flexing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, that's what. So that's why I always say, ooh, what all glitters is not gold, because you don't know what he did to get that money. And youngsters always wants to live in a better place than where they're in. If they're living in poor conditions, then you see this guy flashing jewelry, flashing watches, flashing Rolexes, flashing what's it, Louis Vuitton, whatever.
Up flexing. This is the same year that his company was forced by the government to be shut down for dodgy financial records. It's so bizarre to me that all this evidence seems to be right there, out in the open, and this man and his organisation are still basically operating in the same way that they always have, giving us all a big middle finger whilst they do it. The toughest.
Yeah, it is disgusting. I agree with you there. I agree with this man right there. He's basically just pulling down his pants and flashing his ass to the people. You know, you can't catch me kind of syndrome. You seek him here, you seek him there, you seek him there, you can't find him. He's one of those ones. And they need to really shut down people like this. They need to shut them down. Even if they come under a new name, they need to shut them down. Right? You know, because people can rebrand themselves, come out new, change everything about them. You know, this guy, I remember watching for years. There was one young guy that used to expose him on YouTube here, and they tried to shut him down. I think they tried to shut him down. I don't know whether they did shut him down in the end, but he was getting so much inside information on this guy or what was going on. Then that woman that they showed earlier, she was like the madame of the thing, you know. They said that how right, like there was numbers of people, women or girls said that how right, don't get on the wrong side of it. It's not just that young girl. So these places of so-called whatever worship or whatever they try to pertain themselves is dangerous places. They're not safe. They will see you starve and they want to live big. You know, there was another church that was like that. There was Pastor Bling. I forgot. Even he did go into prison. We forgot his name. Whitebread, Pastor Whitebread, I think it was. There was numerous people that was doing underhanded things, like, you know, and people, right? Some people be trying to move from gang life, and all you're doing is showing them that how no matter where they go, they will never be safe. There's no safe haven for any of them. Like, so that's why I like people like Respect, who's actually going out. Respect, Chia, who's going out there working with the young people, steering them away from this BS. Because look, as big as he is, he's just laughing in everybody's faces. And there are real people working with these youngsters, doing real things, working with them. Like, you know, moving from postcode to postcode to postcode, because at one point there was a postcode war over here. I think there still is. Well, there's postcode wars over here, where young people was getting into the most, right? I mean, every day there was a stabbing happening. Seems like at one point, like 1 year, there was loads of youngsters that got killed or unalived. The government was kind of fighting against it, kind of doing stuff, but it wasn't enough. So you would think that how these people who's raising up these organizations, teaching them stuff, but instead they're taking advantage of them. sleeping with them, all sorts of things is going on. So I don't know. I mean, I just feel upset when I hear about these type of people, because there's genuine people who would love to work with youngsters, move them away from whatever they're doing, finding a way for them out of whatever they're dealing with, you know. But I'm not gonna tally here longer, because I've been on like 2 hours. And as much as it was supposed to be about first love, but then it's turned into other spaces where like people are deceiving them, taking advantage of people, taking advantage of youngsters, flashing in front of them things like, you know, drill music is the most active thing that is still going on to this day. Even though some youngsters move from drill rap, but it's one of those ones where like it can be turned into a positive thing. I'm sure there's positive drill music out there, but I've never seen none. So I'm hoping that how there'll be other youngsters who is been in certain standards or whatever, will come out of the woodwork and try and steer other young people from doing criminal activities. There must be another way so that you can help your mum. There must be another way that you can furnish the house, do certain stuff. You don't have to go down that way, because where does it end up? You end up in a box or in prison. So, and this man was not a good example of that. So I'm not going to tally long. I'm not going to talk long. I mean, I finally got there in the end, because it's one of those where I was simultaneously looking and finding the info while putting it up on screen. So Leah gives a lot of information. She gives a lot of information, and I'm hoping she and others will be able to try to close down that mega church. But I think it will be hard, because you have too many branches to get rid of. It's too many of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? So thank you for passing through, people. Alexander, or Alex as I call him, Ebony Locks, Toothless Tiger, Passion Lisa, Leonard, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully it won't be as long, because I don't like it when it goes into long past the time, because people have small attention spans. So like you have to, condense certain stuff. So thank you for passing through, people, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you in the next one. Please go and look at the autism build, because that was a real interesting one for me. I think I learned a lot as well myself, and I was hoping to go and make a second one, but if not, that's okay. And I'll see you in the other one, and we'll talk in the comment section. If you have, I keep doing the ooh, I can hear my tone going up and down. If you have come from such churches like this, tell me, how long did it take you to come out of the churches? Did you have to go to therapy? Did you have to do other things so that you can leave these churches? Because it is a form of cult. Even how they explain it is a form of cult. And even when they explain certain things, I hear carbonation in the mix, or imagining the mix. So, yeah. But with that said, I'm going to come off, because it's going on 12 over here. And maybe next time I might just do an early morning rise one, and then just drop it, and then you guys can comment on it, because I know like we all work on different time zones. Okay, so I understand that, because even sometimes it'd be something else. So, but I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Hold on, let me find it.